Hello everybody. So we're getting very excited now about welcoming everybody back to school. School is closed at campus tomorrow so that we can clean all the classrooms, we can get them all set up ready, and I can go through the final health and safety training for all the staff. But we're really, thinking about how we can make sure everybody at school knows what they've got to do on Monday, where they've got to be, and how it's going to work. So I'm just going to go through some of the organisational aspects with you in this slideshow. So I've updated the PowerPoint from when we came back in September. Some parts of it you'll be really familiar with, and you might just want to skip over those slides, and that's fine. But if not, you can either read the slides or click play and have a listen as I talk that through. So when we've been thinking about opening school again to everybody, because obviously we have been open, but only to those children who are of critical workers and some of our vulnerable children, to make sure that everybody is able to access the learning. And we've had our at-home children accessing learning every day through Class Dojo. But it's time to stop being at campus, stop being at home, and come back together and be at Dunkirk whole school together. But we need to make sure that everybody's clear about how we keep school as healthy as possible. If anybody is unwell, as always, we would ring you and we would ask you to collect your child. When children are poorly, they can't learn properly, they really struggle, and it's not pleasant, and it's better for them to go home, get better, and then come back and catch up. Lots and lots of work on cleaning hands, encouraging the children not to touch their faces. We'll go through all the sneezing into tissues and binning it again. Cleaning staff are here before or after school, making sure that all surfaces are kept clean and that we're minimising the contact, that our bubbles don't mix, but I'll go into more detail about that later. As we did in September, all the way through to December, if you have a new or continuous cough, if you have a high temperature over 37.8, you get that loss of taste or smell, and I can never say this, anosmia, or you feel any shortness of breath, if you've come back into the UK and you're having to quarantine, if somebody in your family has symptoms and tested positive, you're isolating, or if you're waiting for a COVID test, gosh, it's quite a long list now, you don't come to school. And if you're ever not sure, please ring school. If your child develops any of these symptoms in the day, they will go into isolation into one of our medical rooms, and the children are used to going into these if they feel unwell at any time, and there's always staff around. Then we will call you and ask you to come and get them immediately. And it is immediately, because we then have to clean the medical space and make sure the other children are kept away. We need to make sure that everybody's emergency contact details are up to date. I have had a couple of instances later where the second contact hasn't answered, or parents have had their phones turned off. At the moment, don't turn your phone off, please. Put it on silent. If you're studying or you're in a lecture and they're telling you to turn it off, just say, I'm really sorry, but the head teacher of my daughter's school has said we all need to keep our phones on and have them on silent in case we need an emergency contact. We will be contacting everybody to check all those second numbers and make sure they are accurate. We can't have children who are really unwell at school. So for them coming to school, we'll be lining up along the walls or the fences like we did before. There are markers on the fences, or there are the yellow circles on the floor for you to be 2 meters apart. But we all know that distance now. So even if they're not there, please social distance outside school. Every little bit helps to reduce that risk of transmission. We encourage only one adult to come with the children. If you're coming with somebody else, please ask them to wait elsewhere, just to reduce the amount of people we have around a gate. We have a lot of people to get in, and we're trying to reduce the amount of stagger to support all our working and studying parents. Children cannot come into school early. We just can't do that. We have to have the set times that the children come in. If you can line up with them, socially distance, and wait your turn. We are going to be much stricter this term. If you're just hanging around with your child near the gate, we are not going to let you in until you line up. I'm really sorry. And we are going to have to say to people, join the line, please. We won't admit your child until you join the line. Or if it's at the end of the day, sorry, we're not dismissing your child until you line up, please, at that gate or that wall or wherever it is. Standing in front of us until your child is last, we're still not going to dismiss them. We have to get everybody back into that habit. I know that might seem a little bit pedantic, but it's about the safety of everybody, and it's not fair if a couple of people try and get around that, because everybody else is trying to conform and do what's best. As soon as the children get to the gate, we'll test their temperature. That can either be on their forehead or it can be on that wrist, and that's up to you to let us know which one you would prefer for your child. They'll go into school, they'll line up, or they'll go straight in. It depends where their hand washing facilities are. And the first thing they'll all do is take their coats and bags off, hang them up or put them in the lockers, and then they will be washing their hands. Staff have the spray guns, dispensers, and that puts the soap and water on. The children start washing their hands, doing the wrists as well. They rinse, and then they're ready to go into their classrooms. Children can bring a packed lunch with them, or you can have a hot school meal. Remember, for the first few weeks, we'll be taking the questions each day from the children, just while we get the online booking system back up and running. Talked a little bit about the temperatures. If your child's temperature is high, staff will take that 2 or 3 times just to double check. The thermometers are just a guide for us. If it maintains high, they may ask for a member of SLT to come down, senior leadership team, just to check that. And if your child's temperature remains high, we'll just ask you very quietly for them just to go home, and then you can monitor that temperature and have a test if necessary. Restrictions are still in place. We can't have parents or carers onto the school premises. I think everybody's got into the habit of dropping their children off at the gates now. It's really the end of the day where we probably miss everybody so much, because that's when everyone used to come on and have a chat and see each other, but we can't do that at the moment, so we'll still be dismissing from the gates at the end of the day. Again, you'll need to line up to be able to collect your child. It's to stop it so that there's people blocking pavements so that everybody can get by safely as well. If we can't get hold of you, okay, then obviously we will call you. So again, it's those emergency contacts. However, if your child is really ill at school or there was an accident, we have holding areas. I know that sounds strange, but it's just a safe place at the main gates inside where you can wait for your child, and if necessary a member of staff can, wearing their face coverings, have a conversation with you just to pass on information about your child. If you want to tell us something important at the gates in the morning, if it's just a quick bit of information, please make sure you socially distance from us, and if possible you're wearing a face covering while you're having that conversation with us, because I have to look after all the children and all the staff. If it's something that needs a lot more conversation around it, just let us know, or we'll phone you and we can arrange a Zoom or a Teams where we can still see each other and have that conversation. We don't want to lose that communication with you. It's so important to us as a school. But like before, we're just finding different ways. And actually, some parents and carers have said they prefer that. They're at work or they're studying or they're at home, and it's actually quicker and easier to have the same conversation via technology. The children will be in their bubbles. We're continuing with our year group bubbles. They have their bubble area, their bubble toilets, their bubble sinks. There's their teachers and there's a TA in the bubble areas, and that bubble is together for the whole day. If there's any movement around school and we really restrict that movement, they will go as a bubble. So it's to the playground, back again. Some classes go into the dining hall and back again. Some classes are in a shared area and they're back again. Okay, they'll line up at the start, they'll line up at the end, but it's always in their bubbles. All right, they don't go into anybody else's bubble areas or bubble classrooms. And we'll be reminding the children all the time about social distancing. Because they're in their bubbles, we don't have to keep that 2 metre when they line up, but we are very aware that we're teaching our children it's not about being in each other's faces or hanging on to each other or holding on or anything like that. It's about just being around each other, keeping a safe kind of space and respecting other people's space as well. So within school, we make sure that we leave the internal doors open so that people aren't touching any hand plates as they're going through on the doors. We make sure that the top windows are open so that there's ventilation in the classrooms, and that's why I've said all along that children can bring extra jumpers or fleeces into school. Doors and windows are open more fully at lunchtimes and playtimes to ventilate the classrooms. And we remind the children within their bubbles, and you can see an example, that's a year 3 classroom where it's set up where all the children have their own resources. So they've got their own books, their own rulers, highlighters, post-it notes, whiteboard rubbers, and then there's a box with shared maths equipment in there so that we're minimising the amount of resources that the children are sharing. And we've really done that very thoroughly within school to make sure that the children know they're the resources that they use on their table. Obviously, that's slightly different for our nursery and our reception children, and in those environments we often have a one off and one on, so that every day resources are being swapped over and the children are washing their hands more frequently. We have to make sure that the classrooms are clear at the end of the day. So your child may talk about having to pack everything away, but that's so that our cleaning team can come in and really make sure that all those surfaces are given a really good wipe down. If your child brings a lunch in from home, that will need to stay with them in their classroom. So please make sure that it's in a proper lunch bag to keep it cool, especially as we go into summer. And all the children have their water bottles. Please make sure your child's name is on it. Our water bottles are washed every night, and every so often I just have to write the name on again because it does wear off. Spaces are identified within the classrooms as to where the children can and can't go. So there are often toilets between the two bubble spaces, and it's identified which toilets belong to which class within that bubble. There are tissues available in tissue dispensers, and there are lidded bins for those tissues to go into. Every day the staff remind the children, so I'll just let you have a little look at this list. And we have short chunked lessons during the day so that there are more opportunities for the children to be outside having fresh air, and that those classrooms get that ventilation during those breaks in addition as well. In September, we adjusted our behaviour policy in terms of what happens if children are struggling with their behaviours, because obviously they can't go to other classrooms within school to have that calming down time or just be able to work in a different environment. Children will all be reminded of that when they come back into school, and we'll continue using track it lights, our system, and our red, amber, green. The children are all familiar with this, and it's part of that consistency that we can provide for them, that celebration of hard work and all the pride behaviours as well. And the children know these well, and I'm sure our families know these well, and we'll hook straight back into these. We've kept them going throughout our at campus and at home learning, and we'll be saying well done to all the children who've been trying so hard during this last lockdown. Part of working at school is around taking responsibility, and children taking responsibility for their own resources and belongings, so there's no sharing of their own things. One of the other things that we talk about with the children is not using COVID as a joke in school, not saying in a silly way that they're going to spit or cough at anybody. And if any child behaves in that way, we will contact parents and carers and have a discussion about that. It's not accepted or tolerated in school, and we know that you'd support us with that and have a chat with your child about that at home as well. And here's some of the times, just some of the times that the children will be hand washing. We make sure that all the soaps that we use in school are as skin friendly as possible and follow local authority guidance on what we use and how we use that. And And there's a video there that the children can watch to remind themselves. At the end of the day, the children will be dismissed from their gates. They will line up ready, and we'll be asking parents to line up at the fences or the walls as well. Any parents who congregate around the gate, I'm sorry, but we will not dismiss your child to you. Even if you decide to wait there till the very end, we won't until everybody has lined up at either their fence or their wall. This is to make it safe for everybody. We don't have a time where parents are kind of congregating in front, but children and parents who've collected then can't move away from school and try and maintain that social distancing. I know it's hard and I know it's different, and we all want to just be able to mingle and chat, and we will do again one day, but at the moment we need to make sure that people are lining up. And as parents, carers, I please ask that you support school and you model that to your child, and support other families and support staff and us at school with lining up so that we can safely dismiss the children. You'll come to the front of the line, staff will be out there, they'll see you, call your child, you'll collect your child. Okay? There's a visual reminder of uniform. If you haven't got that uniform, if your child's outgrown it, my daughter's outgrown hers, then please don't worry about it for the first week or so. Have some time to get new and big uniforms sorted out. That's absolutely fine. Okay, I say after the first week or so, we expect everybody to be back in their uniforms. It's still a little bit chilly at the moment, so please make sure your child's coming with a nice warm coat. The next few slides are repeats of all the information about what to do if your child has symptoms of COVID or somebody in your home has symptoms of COVID. So please make sure you've had a read through of those. Now, staff in school have the opportunity to test twice a week. We have our test kits at home, and those of us that have been in the whole time have got very used to doing it, and the staff that are returning from doing the home learning and teaching have their test kits at home and have been having a go this week. And we have to log all those on the school system and with the Department for Education, NHS, so that if there are any confirmed cases, there is a record of that and it can be dealt with using our school protocols. Isolation is for 10 days from onset of symptoms or from that positive test result. We'd always have a conversation with you about that and then let other families within the bubbles know about that. And you can really support school by making sure that as a family you do isolate. And we've had really, really positive results of containing any cases to that single case because everybody's been so great at isolating. And finally, this is the plan. And I always talk about the fact it is a plan. There is a risk assessment that is constantly being updated with formal 2-week reviews, but things can change. And it's been such a time of change. It's unprecedented. Everybody uses that word an awful lot, but the impact on families and schools, and especially on our children, we just want to make sure that everybody's aware things probably will continue to change. And sometimes I'll be able to let you know a lot of information in advance, and sometimes it might have to be very last minute. It's how we have to work at the moment, and it's probably going to continue like that for quite a while as governments work out with new variants and testing and the vaccine rollout. It's about us working together, and that's been working so successfully, and making sure that we continue continue that communication with you and you communicating with us, so that the children feel that they're part of that really supportive environment. So we look forward to welcoming everybody back next week. You should all have had information about whether you're starting back on Monday, Tuesday or Wednesday, and that by Wednesday we will be back together as a whole Dunkirk, and everybody is really looking forward to that. If you've got any further questions or queries, then please just send that in to admin@Dunkirk, the usual address. And have a lovely weekend, and I will see you all next week. Thank you. Bye.